excited for a crispy chicken ramen.
I'm so excited.
Just got done eating some ramen. Ramen.
It was delicious.
Amanda's been craving it,
Yes.
so we did it, and she loved it.
Yep.
What kind of ramen did you get, Amanda?
I got the crispy chicken ramen.
It's ramen.
Ramen.
All right, what's up, guys? Amanda and I are headed back up to St. Louis, getting ready for the surgery. It's tomorrow. About a little over halfway there. But I don't know if Amanda, do you want to just kind of give us a little bit of a background of how we got to where we're needing surgery and where we're at with everything?
This surgery is, before I do the backstory, basically what we're doing is I'm getting a C-section scar niche repair due to my C-section back in 2021. Side note, C-section was not what I wanted. It was my very last resort. We started trying for another baby about 2 years after having our daughter, so that would have been the end of 2023. So we got pregnant in January 2025. We do have a baby heaven side because that pregnancy was ectopic, and we had to have surgery because it was starting to rupture, and they had to remove my right fallopian tube. So after that, we started trying again after the doctor said it was safe after X amount of time. During that span of time of trying again, which was about 7 to 8 months, I started having various different symptoms, very prolonged menstrual bleeding, irregular cycles. Multiple times I thought I was having another ectopic pregnancy due to having left-sided pain during my cycles that were very similar to an ectopic. So finally, in October of 2025, I'd gone into the doctor due to concern of having another ectopic pregnancy and the bleeding that I was having at the moment. We had an ultrasound done. The ultrasound tech noted a C-section scar niche and possible adenomyosis. Long story short, the current doctor did not address these things in my ultrasound with any concern and was basically told, we can prescribe you birth control to help with the bleeding. I had a friend, Alex, who I was telling all this stuff to. She recommended this podcast that I listened to that was interviewing Dr. Puthoff, who's with Veritas, Fertility and Surgery. Also, to understand about a C-section scar niche and Isthmocele, there's no other way to fix it if it's a problem besides surgery, because it's a man-made problem due to the C-section and it didn't heal back correctly. We had our consultation. There's a previous video we did where I'd gone up there to get an ultrasound done, a saline ultrasound. So the results from that, why we have to do a laparoscopic surgery repair, is my C-section scar niche is pretty significant, but my residual myometrial thickness is not thick enough to basically support, a good healthy pregnancy. It would be stretched out too much, so it needs to be repaired to make it thick again. It's not a very prominent, to my understanding, thing for doctors to kind of know about this, especially fertility doctors or OBGYNs, so it kind of gets overlooked.
All right, we've made it to our hotel. Where are we staying, Amanda?
We are at the Best Western Plus, and I love it so much.
It's actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
The newly renovated, everything's pretty clean. Yeah. Got the name on the TV.
Okay, we're at Jimmy John's to get dinner because we're not starving, but we love Jimmy John's.
All right, Amanda, what are we doing?
We're getting ice cream.
Is it good?
It's good. Kind of tastes like marshmallows.
Yep. We're getting in bed. It's, what time is it, 10?
It's 9:48.
Almost 10 o'clock. We got to be at the hospital at 5:30 a.m. So we're going to try and get some rest, and we'll see you guys in the morning.
Good morning, guys. It's 5:14 almost. Anyway, almost 5:30 before we got to head over to the hospital.
just wanted to check in. We're a little tired. Someone didn't sleep that great, but we're okay. I'm excited because this is just something that the Lord has been in so much, and I'm so excited to see His goodness in it all. I just trust Him and just want to give all the glory to Him because He's been orchestrating this whole thing. So this is going to be a good thing, and we're very excited for it. So, yeah. Getting ready in my nice luxury attire.
All right. So the goal for today is basically that we're gonna go in and resect that area that's abnormal on your uterus where you have that C-section scar defect.
Yeah.
And really the benefit of doing it is that we're getting to rebuild the muscle thickness there to make a future pregnancy a lot safer. But then we also eliminate that pocket that's catching all that abnormal blood. So we get to reduce inflammation, also make future pregnancies a lot healthier and safer.
Yeah.
So the success rate with this is fantastic. So really looking forward to seeing how everything goes.
Yeah.
And obviously we always check on this, 3 to 4 months after surgery to make sure everything worked.
Yep.
There she is. How you feeling?
Here I am. I'm feeling good. I got my ice chips.
Alright guys, we're back at the hotel. And we'll give you guys a little bit of an update rundown once we get some dinner. I'm going to grab us some burgers and come back and get some food in her and a little bit of rest, and we'll give you all a little breakdown later today or tomorrow.
Oh boy. That is very good.
Amanda said she wanted some ice cream, so we got her some ice cream from the malt shop. I think it was called the malt shop. So here you go.
Thank you.
It's 10:30. We stayed up a little late watching a show, so we're gonna get some rest. See you all in the morning.
See you in the morning.
What's up, guys? Here we are again. Man and I just pulled off to get some Chick-fil-A for lunch. Before we went into the summary, I thought it might be a good idea for Amanda to give us like a really high overview of how the reproductive system works in a woman, so that when we're talking about these things, it makes sense what's doing what and why it's important. So you want to give us a little overview?
So basically the concept of getting pregnant and stuff, you have your uterus, you've got your fallopian tubes, and you have your ovaries. So when you ovulate, your ovary releases eggs, and then your fallopian tubes grab on to the eggs, and then at that point, they go through your fallopian tubes. They can meet a sperm in the fallopian tube, or what the goal is, like, once conception happens, they move their way to the uterus to implant.
All right, guys. So we're about to pop up on the screen. Dr. Puthoff was adamant that we record him explaining to me after the surgery and all the results. So we're going to put that up on the screen here in a second with diagrams and circles. And just so you know, the diagrams are not super anatomically correct, but they are just there to give you a visual representation of kind of what he's talking about as he goes through it.
Yeah.
So we'll pop that up, and then afterwards we'll give a little bit of kind of our thoughts on everything and a little bit of our journey, and we'll close the video out. So just stay tuned for all that.
But that is sort of the Isthmocele niche there, and that's kind of like, I describe it as like a vaulted ceiling in a hallway. So that's the spot that traps blood.
Wow. Okay.
Which actually was even larger. It's just kind of right now it's being obscured by that polyp there.
All right.
Now we're in laparoscopically, so this is the uterus from the top. Right tube would have been there, but it's removed.
Yeah.
Right ovary is here underneath some scar tissue. So that's some bands of filmy scar tissue going from the ovary to the bowel, and then underneath the ovary there's a couple more areas of scar tissue as well. So we took all that scar tissue off. It's hard to know if that was from her C-section recovery or from the ectopic pregnancy.
Right.
And then this is her left ovary, kind of lots of scar tissue here between the underside left ovary and the left side of the sigmoid colon, what's called the sigmoid mesentery. So the left ovary is kind of pinned in a weird way that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
which can cause pain. And then this got even more interesting. So the end of the left tube was kind of curled up and stuck on what's called the left pelvic brim and kind of outside of the pelvis. So like the tube should curl around this way,
right,
but it's kind of stuck in the wrong direction. And the reason is because she actually has fairly deep infiltrating endometriosis implants at the end of the left tube here. And I have a picture of it later, but basically when we were injecting the dye, the end of the tube was essentially blocked off. There was like a little pinhole opening, so it wasn't even going to be able to function for fertility, even though
that explains a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Especially since it's the only one left.
Especially with all the scar tissue here. Then we got to work on the Isthmocele again, then we came back to the tube at the end. So we've now made an incision to cut into the front part of the uterus with the Isthmocele scars to kind of identify that double defect that we had seen on the saline sonogram. So definitely it was very interesting to see it always, looking laparoscopically, we see a little bit of a different view of it. But that whole double defect is fully excised. All the scar tissue around the area is excised. This is just showing that that's the tissue that we actually resected from the lower part of the uterus. This is kind of blurry, I apologize, but this is healthy tissue now. So this is kind of the top of the cervix is on this side, and the lower part of the uterus is on that side. So essentially we just have to kind of reinforce and reconstruct that uterine wall on that site. So this is 3 double stitches, which is the first layer of closure to kind of bring back that muscle tissue. And these are now tied down, so now that uterine wall has been rebuilt. But then we went back and worked on the left tube a little bit. It's kind of a good before and after.
Yeah.
Once we've taken off all the scar tissue, taken out the endometriosis, now the fallopian tube's freed up here. So this is when I injected the dye through. It looks pretty good here, but it was actually just coming through this very, very tiny pinhole spot. Now we're working on a little bit more, taking off some of the scar tissue with the laser, kind of opening that spot up. So now we've created a wider opening there. And so now you can see more of that dye is coming through here. So then the main risk here is because we've now cut off scar tissue toward the end of the tube, and this is really close to the fimbria, which is right at the end of the tube as well, is that we don't want everything kind of congeal together and potentially get stuck. And so what we did is what's called a fimbrioplasty. So I put these 2 permanent sutures that kind of help to fold those fimbriated ends back away from the opening. So it's almost like peeling a banana.
Right.
So it kind of helps to keep those tissues separated from each other. And that's really the best thing that we can do to help this tube be able to heal well. And then I wrapped the amniotic membrane graft after we did all the PRP and everything. So we first do a layer of PRP everywhere, and then we put this amniotic membrane around the left tube and left ovary and the pelvic wall where we had excised all the endometriosis there. Obviously it's one of these things that whenever we get in to do these surgeries, we don't necessarily know what we're going to find. But, having the ability to have this surgery with a fertility surgery practice is really important because, there's some surgeons that do Isthmocele repairs, but they don't do anything with the fallopian tubes. And there's some people that do fallopian tube repairs, but they don't do anything with Isthmocele. So being able to do this all as one surgery, whereas some other, surgeons would have to say, okay, we're going to have to send you off to somebody else for these other parts of this to fix everything. So it's a blessing to be able to get this all done in one surgery for patients just like her. So
would you say that our ability to conceive was near 0%?
Yeah, unfortunately, the Isthmocele itself is problematic, and then when you add into that the fact that the tube was sort of twisted around, stuck in a spot away from the ovary, and it was blocked, it would have been a bit of a miracle to actually ever get pregnant. And then there's also a higher risk for an ectopic pregnancy whenever the tube's holding onto the fluid like that in an abnormal way.
So. Yeah, awesome. Anything else?
Right. That's it.
Man, thank you.
You bet, of
Appreciate
course.
You.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys just got done watching Dr. Puthoff's awesome illustration of what was going on throughout the surgery. We cut out a little bit of the in-betweens, but you guys got the gist of what was going on. The main thing we knew we were going in for was the Isthmocele, the double defect. So it was kind of 2 spots that almost were right next to each other. He called it a snowman multiple times, kind of like our little snowman that was getting fixed. But I don't know if Amanda, if you want to kind of quickly explain the sizes and all that.
Yeah, so I know I mentioned at the beginning of the video that my residual myometrium thickness wasn't thick enough. So basically those numbers were at the lowest point, it was 1.1 to 1.8 millimeters residual myometrium thickness. The ideal range they like it to be is 4 to 5 millimeters, like when you're minimum, when you're dealing with a C-section scar defect. So mine was pretty thin. With it being that thin, there's risks with that as far as the possibility of uterine rupture.
I was having a side conversation with Dr. Puthoff in between all of this, and he was telling me there's about 1 million C-sections a year. He was saying of those 1 million, between 200,000 to 300,000 of those result in a C-section scar niche. Now, not necessarily all of those are symptomatic, but a lot of them can be, or you don't know for a long time. So I thought that was a pretty 20 to 30% result in this. So it just makes me wonder how many issues have come of this that we hadn't talked about or known about in the past. So another thing that was found that we knew was a possibility but weren't for sure was there would be scar tissue in places, and there was a lot of scar tissue around Amanda's ovaries and a lot of ovary adhesions. And I think some of that might have been due to endometriosis. Most of it may have been, but I think one that kind of stuck out to me is the left one was pinned pretty hardcore, Amanda, and I think that gave you some pain.
Yeah, so that definitely makes sense for all the pain I was having around certain times of my cycle where it would make me think I was having another ectopic pregnancy, but especially around during ovulation, right after like my period and stuff like that, it would just be just this pain, and I was just like, it's just radiating on my left side, so that made sense for that for sure. So
then of course we had the big surprise of the left fallopian tube being in the condition that it was in, with it being pinned up, having scarring and kind of sealing up the opening, and all in the wrong direction. Kind of made sense with not being able to conceive, along with the other symptoms. Dr. Puthoff said that even if we had conceived, it would have been a very high risk. So almost like kind of a blessing to me a little bit that was pinned up in a way like it was, but definitely due to the condition of the uterus with the Isthmocele and all of the other things going on, that maybe there was a reason God had allowed that to happen. But we were very excited that Dr. Puthoff was the man for the job, because he was able to excise everything, fix that while he was in there, spend the extra time, and not just, somebody else is going to have to do that. I was beyond thankful that he was able to just get in there and fix that while he was in there.
Yeah. So now at this point, we have to wait. We're going to go back about 3 months to do a couple follow-up tests to make sure everything looks good with the Isthmocele repair, and then to make sure everything looks good with the fallopian tube. Make sure it's open, do all the testing there, have the green light to start trying again.
So with this journey, I feel like Amanda's had a lot of healing and mindset shifts that have happened when it comes to doctors and fertility and having children.
So with all the healing and the mindset shift that the Lord had to do in me, I had to trust God fully to be able to trust a doctor again to go in and do something that I never wanted to happen again. I never wanted another surgery again and all that, so I had to trust that this was going to be a good thing and this was going to be for my benefit because of everything that was found. And I just, the whole time too, I felt peace from the Lord about going this route, even though initially it wasn't something I wanted. So it's okay to have our beliefs and our preferences change and stuff for the betterment of us. And that's why I just encourage you to seek the Lord, because he might have a different route or a different area he wants you to look at, because he has our best interests at heart. So that's what happened with our experience.
So as we finish this video out, I feel like it'd be good to just touch on kind of why it's so important to us to have another child. Obviously we have one currently. She's amazing. We love her dearly. She asks us almost for a while there daily, when am I going to have another brother and sister?
I know.
In the world that we live in currently, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of things to be down about, a lot of things to be, focused on the negative. Having Adeline, having children, there's just something different about it. There's just so much joy. It's just like a natural progression, I feel like, of our lives especially. And it's like a reward to us as well. It helps me grow and learn how to be a better man, father, husband, a better person in the world. We just really appreciate and love you guys that have been praying for us and following along so far in our little journey, and of course keep everybody updated as we progress, and we're just trusting in the Lord and moving forward one day, one step at a time, and very thankful to him, very thankful for my strong and resilient wife and just how awesome she is, and we'll just see you guys soon.
Also, if you want to know more about Veritas Fertility and Surgery and Dr. Puthoff, we will link their Instagram and their website below.
Bye.